President Badran, thank you very much for coming here, for taking a little time for this short interview.
Well, thank you very much to be invited here to this annual conference on cultural diplomacy to celebrate the 25th anniversary of tearing down the Berlin Walls. I hope there are so many walls. We need also to tear them down in the world.
Exactly. You are very much involved in education in Jordan. Here at the ICD, we try to put education at the forefront. We were wondering what your thoughts were on cultural diplomacy as a field of study.
Well, education to us in Jordan is, like you say, our bread and butter, because we are not an oil country. We are limited in mineral resources, even water. We have problem in finding enough water to our people. This is why we depend on education. In other words, we invest in the brain, human resources. And the remittances coming from our capital, human capital, which we export to the Gulf and to other areas in the world, is bringing Jordan more than $4 billion a year. This is a lot of money because Jordan is a small country, as you know. We're talking about 6.5 million people, 6 million people, Jordan. And this is why education is really empowering people, women and men, and they are finding jobs, if not in Jordan, outside Jordan. Cultural diplomacy, when I established Yarmouk University, which is a state university, governmental university, we established Institute of Diplomacy because I believe very strongly in it. And that institute has two functions. One is to offer degrees, graduate degrees toward master and PhD. And I made, at that time, as I remember, I made agreement with Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. And they used to come, their professors, to work one semester a year. And we send our students also to them for one semester. So it's in a partnership for graduate work. And also the other function of that institute was to train ambassadors before they go to their field work, to train them where they are going. If an ambassador going to India, really to put him in Indian environment, learn history of India, learn the economy of India, learn the education of India, learn about the Indian people, their problem, obstacles, etc., before going there, and be a diplomat, protocol. Even their wives, we used to bring them for training because they become part of the protocol, the diplomacy protocol. So, but I like culture, the word culture here. Using cultural diplomacy is very important because really what we face, conflicts of cultures. Not conflicts of cultures, because cultures, once you understand the other culture, you appreciate it. But people who are inventing conflicts because of diversity of cultures. Diversity of culture should be enrichment to any population in the world. But some people, because they believe in supremacy, and again, this will lead to marginalization. And then the majority marginalize the minority, and minority will go to become extremist because simply they are not included, they were excluded. They are not included in the whole process, in the process of economy, in the process of justice, the process of equality, the process of education. They were marginalized against.
Well, responding to this, let me jump to the question that was supposed to be the last one. In Jordan, there are many different ethnic groups. You have the different Bedouin tribes, you have the ethnic people who live in Jordan, but you also have a very big Palestinian population. How is it that Jordan has, throughout the last decades, managed to make a relatively peaceful cohabitation of all those people when it is apparent that in the region it is not so easy?
You're right. Jordan should be taken as a model for a success story in the Middle East. In Jordan, we have Circassian, we have Bedouins, we have so many tribes, we have Muslims, 10% of our people are Christians. Again, Christian, you have Protestant, Catholics, every sect, and also Muslim. We have Sunni and Shia and so forth. We never felt in Jordan that your religion is different from mine. We never felt your tribe is different from mine. The cohesion in Jordan was successful because everybody included. This is why I would say inclusion. We have ministers Circassian, ministers Bedouin, ministers Christian, ministers Muslim, anybody. We don't look at what is your religion, what is your race, what is your sects. We don't. And this is why we develop democracy that everybody is included. So why should you fight against the other if you are included in the process? And this is why the story of Jordan is a success story. Education does not discriminate. We don't use religion as a way to discriminate against people who are different. We never use sectarians to again form what you call. We don't politicize religion. We don't politicize religion. We feel that freedom of worship should be practiced by all. And then you run your own affair. You run your own state. You see, the people, they decide what type of governance they want. And that's Jordan. We have umbrella, what you call it, constitutional monarchy, which gives the umbrella of stability and continuity for Jordan. And then the ministers, the prime minister elected by the parliament, they are chosen by the parliament, the prime minister, he form his cabinet, he submits his cabinet to the legislation, to the what you call it Congress here, we call it House of Representatives, elected by the people. They give confidence or they do not give confidence. If they didn't give confidence to the prime minister because of his cabinet, then again the king has to nominate another minister to the parliament. Then he form his cabinet. If they got the confidence of the parliament, then the government has the confidence of representative of the people, linked with the people. That's what you need. You cannot impose a government outside the people. It has to be to represent the people. And who represents the people? The parliament. They are elected by the people. And who gives the confidence to the government is the parliament. And withhold the confidence, also the parliament. So I think that's it. We have a multi-party system in Jordan. Even Muslims, they can form a party. It's not prohibited. Because we know how to confront any differences in the minds and ideologies. Once you are sure of yourself, then you cannot be scared that do not let Muslims to form a party. Do not let Christians to form a party. Why not? Let them form the party. Logic is logic.
Speaking about the underlay of any government are the people. Being a man of education, working in education, how do you think in a Middle Eastern setting there could be programs for youth empowerment so that the youth, the people who are now being educated, can work together with the government to form a better government and a better ruling?
Yes. This is why, you remember I mentioned, you need the right type of education, not dogmatic education. Too bad in some Arab countries, they are educated, the people, their children, the youth, on certain sect. And this certain ideology, interpretation of Islam, called sect, is and will antagonize all other religious values and other sects. And this is what is leading to conflicts. I think the most important thing is to give the right education, which promote thinking, critical thinking, promote logics, liberate the minds, and let that education mature within the minds of people, of those pupils, students, that they become good citizens. And then, like you said, this citizenship is important because you are valued in that state according to how you progress in your education, how to give, to deliver to economy, how to deliver if you hire a civil servant, everything on merits. And once you develop merit system without trying to put another criteria outside merits, then really you succeed in building what you call from the bottom up approach a very good system of governance.
You have also been educated in the United States, in the Oklahoma State University in Michigan. There are obviously very big differences between the United States and Jordan and the Arab world in general. Do you see a certain evolution in those differences, maybe growing together, or a bigger disparity than in the time that you were a student there?
There was disparity between Jordan and the United States when I went to schooling in the U.S. After high school, I went to study in the university in the United States. Yes, there was differences, huge differences in everything, but with the globalization now, all countries became closer together, and this difference is melting, is disappearing. Again, this wall of difference is tearing down. In Jordan, because my colleagues and I, we went to the States and others, when we came back, we developed the American system of university. Our university, they run on semester system and credit hour system. So we adapted, Jordan, all university adapts the American credit system. I started this with my colleagues at the University of Jordan. This is in 1965 and 66. And it developed, and multiplied to other universities. This is one thing. Second thing, because of our background in the States, we made links with universities there, where we have visiting professors, joint research programs, training, and we send our distinguished students who graduate from our university, we give them a reward. We send them abroad for a master and PhD on scholarship to universities in the States because of this linkage we have. Although, as you are aware of, sending your student to the United States, you have to pay fees. And, while in Germany it's free, and France is free, the higher education. But like I said, this linkages, because of our background, has developed our education system to be American-oriented, not American in terms of quality. The quality of education of U.S. Higher education, really what is now adopted in Jordan.
Now perhaps the question everybody has been waiting for. Jordan is a famous oasis, like you said yourself just before our interview, a famous oasis of peace. What is your secret? What could you tell your neighboring countries, which are obviously not so peaceful? How could they try to work towards a more peaceful way of living?
I think the most important thing is good governance. We have enlightened king. He knows how to choose his government. And again, this government, although chosen by the king or approved by the king, it has to go through the parliament. If it doesn't get the confidence, even the king, even he appointed, if he doesn't get the confidence, it means the king has to think of other, to nominate other prime minister and the Prime Minister, in consultation with the King and the Parliament, form his cabinet. So stability. We have a constitution, hasn't changed. It was drafted 1952. In 1952 was drafted our constitution by King Talal at that time. He is the grandfather of King Abdullah II now. And that constitution was, the reference of that constitution was the Constitution of Belgium. And the Constitution of Belgium was highly advanced in Europe after the Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. 1948, we have the 30 articles of human rights, which was declared in Geneva. Human rights were used in 14 articles of our Constitution in 1952. So once you develop a human rights system, once you develop justice and equality, and you develop laws, and you develop institutions, then you develop very good security force to protect the country. And you develop education system, healthcare system, taxes system, etc., based on justice and equality. I think these are the pillars of continuity and stability, because you avoid conflicts. It doesn't mean we are perfect. No. We have sometimes demonstrations, you see, but demonstration is free. They can demonstrate anytime they want to. And election is free now. So transparency is important. Bridging with people is important. Develop a society based on equality, justice, and dignity is important. Development of democracy through free elections and respect for everybody is important. All these will yield to cohesive society interdependent, each one on the other. And this is what happened in Jordan. All the conflicts around us, although we are, we lack material resources, as you are aware of, but with little material resources, we managed, and we invest now so much in education and health. Those two sectors, service sectors, we invest in them a lot.
A final question. You are saying that governance and good rule of law is very important. Of course, we agree. But how can a country whose institutions of governance have been destroyed, how do you believe a country could start working toward internal peace like in Jordan? And do you believe cultural diplomacy, or maybe even cultural diplomacy from the Jordan state, could have any positive influence on the region?
You see, I came to realize that wars will yield more wars. Terror and conflicts will yield more terror and conflict if you deal with it physically. I think the most important thing nowadays, particularly in the 21st century, and we are talking about globalization, the whole market now, market economy is interdependent one on each other. You find just trade, free trade is flowing all over the world. Currency is flowing. Human brains, human resources are going from country to another. So the world is getting closer. It's getting tighter. It's getting like a big family in a way. Although they have various languages here, different worships, different sects, etc., but they are becoming interdependent, one on the other. I think in a world like this, we have to live with the other. You cannot ignore your neighbor, you cannot ignore anybody. So culture of diplomacy becomes the way. Culture of war, we have to take it out. We've tried two big wars in Europe, but they have yielded destruction, you see. And once you develop democracy, no dictator will come and declare war, because people will never declare war against other people. If you want to make a referendum, okay, let's fight Spain tomorrow. Put a referendum in the people, they will laugh at you. See, once you have a dictator, he doesn't like the head of Spain, he declares war next day. And this is what happened to Iraq. You remember Saddam Hussein didn't like Kuwaitis, you see, because they did not help him enough against his war, in his war against Iran. You remember this conflict between Iraq and Iran, and he wants money to support him. Kuwait has a lot of funds. They didn't give him what he wants. So he invaded Iran, Kuwait. If Iraq is democracy, they will never invade Kuwait. That's what I'm trying to say. You see, once you develop a very good system, transparent, respecting your neighbors, and try to work on commons. You see, you have interest in this, I have the same interest. Let's get together, since we have the same interest. That's really the story of the future. Everybody, every country will look into interest. And also I have the same interest they have, so why should I join? And we'll have the same interest. Once we have interests together in economic, in culture, in education, and so on, so we will never fight each other. And this is what the network, what I call the fabrics. We have to develop a peaceful social fabrics among people in the world. No matter what is the border between them, no matter if there is a wall or there is no wall. And this cultural diplomacy is a way much cheaper than resolving problems through war, to solve it through cultural diplomacy.
Mr. Badran, thank you for this very hope-giving answer. In the name of all my colleagues here at the ICD, I thank you very much for your time one more time.
Thank you.